Hey, so today I'm going to talk about the difference between dating in Australia and dating in Canada. Alright, so when people find out that I'm actually an expat living in Australia, a question I often get asked is, what's the difference dating in Canada versus dating in Australia? And this is what I hear so many times from singles, especially single women, is that guys in Australia don't really approach women. And I actually, from my personal experience, found this to be true. I think every aspect of life is so much more laid back in Australia that everyone kind of applies this approach to dating. It's whatever happens, happens. So I find that singles who are looking for someone will either go on a dating app or they might go out on a Saturday night with friends, and then they might talk about how much of a flop going out to meet people was, because people don't approach you until it gets to the wee hours of the night at a bar where they've got the liquid courage and they're kind of under the influence to speak to you. And it's hard to build a genuine connection when both people are kind of under the influence of alcohol, especially if it's first meeting. So that said, a lot of people rely on the dating apps here, and if dating apps aren't used correctly, and if you're only using them as a chatting channel and not taking online conversations to date, it can feel exhausting and you could get jaded from dating very quickly. So that's what I'm getting a lot of, especially with people telling me that there's a man drought in Sydney, that dating can be very tiresome and that it's very hard to find guys. But in my next video, you'll see that you can find guys even in a man drought, and I'll show you how in the next video. So I think that would be the major difference, that men in Australia don't approach women as much as they do in Canada. I think they've just got a lot more courage. I don't know. This is just my personal experience and experiences from a couple of other singles I've heard. So if you think differently, please leave me a comment. I would love to know. So I think the other difference is probably that there isn't much of a courtship. So here you start dating and you start by hanging out, and there isn't so much of a, okay, I'm interested in you, we're going to date. It's very much, all right, well, let's do something, let's grab dinner. And there are very vague there are no conversations about where the intentions of these dates are going. So often I speak to singles and they've dated a guy for like 3-4 dates and they don't really know where they stand. So again, like no one's really having the talk about what they're looking for and what this is. People are just happy to hang out until they have the conversation. So I think those are my two major differences. I mean, you'll get all types of guy in each country, and because Canada and Australia are so similar anyway, there aren't a lot of big differences. Those would be the only two. The dating scene in Australia, as you've probably read or seen in my other video, in Australia, especially in Sydney and Melbourne, there is a man drought statistically, so that where I think you've got one man, there are 5 single women in the bracket of 30 to 40. But there are other ways to get around that. You can either date people with outside of those brackets, or you can work on your dating mindset to attract the top 1% be the top 1% that other people want to date.